I'm Judith Maria and welcome to SG Global News. From the miraculous recovery of Minneapolis shooting victim Sophia Forchas to Italy's move to make the feast of St. Francis of Assisi as a national holiday, we have many stories to cover. In Minneapolis, 12-year-old shooting victim Sophia Forchas is defying the odds with what doctors are calling a miraculous recovery. Sophia was critically wounded in the August 27th school shooting at the Annunciation Catholic School that left 2 children dead and 21 others injured. Her family says prayers from across the community have carried her through, and she now prepares to move from intensive care to rehabilitation.
Sophia is winning. Your prayers are working, reads the heartfelt statement from the family of 12-year-old Sophia Forchas, a Minneapolis shooting victim released by Hennepin County Medical Center. Forchas was among the 21 people injured during the shooting at Annunciation Catholic School in Minneapolis on August 27th, which left 2 children dead. She was critically wounded when a bullet pierced her brain. According to the latest family update, Sophia continues to make steady progress and is showing promising signs of neurological recovery. Doctors are preparing to transition her from acute care to an inpatient rehabilitation program this week. Sophia was rushed to Hennepin County Medical Center, where her mother, a pediatric nurse, was working at the time. Surgeons removed part of her skull to relieve brain swelling, and her condition was initially deemed critical, with little hope of survival. As news of Sophia's injury spread, an outpouring of prayers began. The family attributes her recovery to this wave of prayer, calling it an undeniable testament to the mercy and intervention of the Lord Jesus Christ. They added that each day has revealed moments and circumstances that kept Sophia alive and made her recovery possible. The statement read, quote, "There are simply too many to be dismissed as coincidence," end quote. The message concluded with a request for continued prayers, inviting the community to worship God together and walk forward in faith, hope, and love. The Forchas family are members of the local Greek Orthodox Church, where they attend services regularly.
Chaos erupted at Dallas ICE facility as sniper opened fire from a rooftop, leaving 1 detainee dead and 2 critically injured. The gunman also targeted a van before dying from self-inflicted gunshot. Authorities recovered ammunition marked with anti-ICE messages pointing to an ideology-driven attack. A sniper opened fire on an immigration and customs enforcement center in Dallas, Texas, early Wednesday, killing 1 detainee and critically injuring 2 others, according to the Department of Homeland Security. The gunman also shot at an unmarked van before he died from self-inflicted gunshot wound. Authorities identified the shooter as 29-year-old Joshua John, who had prior cannabis-related charges in Texas. FBI Director Kash Patel shared a photo on Platform X showing recovered ammunition, including a casing marked anti-ICE. CBS News reported water records listed him as an independent. The attack is under investigation as targeted violence, with FBI officials noting ideological messages on the casings. The detainees injured included a Mexican national. The Mexican Foreign Ministry confirmed. Officials initially reported 2 deaths besides the shooter, but later clarified that only 1 detainee died. FBI Director Kash Patel stated initial evidence suggested an ideological motive. DHS added that the gunman fired indiscriminately from an adjacent building. Acting IC Director Todd Lyons said the high-powered rifle could have caused more casualties. Dallas IC Director Joshua Johnson noted divisive rhetoric around IC operations fuels violence. The BBC reported that the recent attack on Texas IC offices raised concerns about politically motivated violence. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu announced at a United Nations General Assembly that he would denounce Western leaders who had recognized an independent Palestinian state, emphasizing his government's narrative on national security and the role of IDF. He criticized the leaders for supporting Palestinian statehood instead of condemning recent attacks on Israeli civilians. At the same time, over 20 people were injured in Eilat after a Houthi drone strike, which followed a similar attack days earlier on a hotel near the Red Sea. The Israel Defense Forces reported that the drone was detected belatedly, though sirens were activated to warn residents.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowed on Thursday to denounce the leaders of Western countries who had recognized an independent Palestinian state during the ongoing United Nations General Assembly. Netanyahu is scheduled to deliver a speech at United Nations on Thursday, told the media that his address would present his country's version of events, including accounts concerning IDF soldiers and the nation itself. He further stated that he would denounce Western leaders instead of condemning the brutal killings of Israeli civilians, advocate granting a Palestinian state in the heart of the land of Israel. Meanwhile, over 20 people were wounded on Wednesday evening after a drone launched by the Houthis exploded in the southern Israeli city of Eilat. The attack occurred only days after another Houthi drone struck a hotel in the Red Sea. In this most recent assault, the Houthi launched a drone, presumably from the Israeli-Yemen border, which hit a populated area in Eilat. Medics reported that injured included 2 men, aged 60 and 26, who were listed in serious conditions, as well as 30-year-old who was moderately injured and 19 others who sustained minor wounds. The Israel Defense Forces, which launched an investigation, stated that the drone was detected belatedly, although sirens were still activated by the Home Front Command to warn civilians. International Desk, Shekinah News.
In a bold declaration, Frankie Muniz, star of Malcolm in the Middle, posted on Platform X on September 21, 2025, professing his faith in Jesus Christ, earning over 93,000 likes. Candace Cameron Bure, a Full House actress, enthusiastically supported his viral post. Now a professional racer, his openness about his Christianity highlights a growing trend of faith expressions in Hollywood. He credits leaving the industry at its peak for saving him from fame and pitfall.
Once America's beloved star kid, and now a professional race car driver, Frankie Muniz has taken to social media to show he isn't afraid to rejoice in Jesus' name. On Sunday, the Malcolm in the Middle star greeted his followers on X with a simple but impactful post. Happy Sunday. I'm proud to say I live for Jesus Christ, who is with me. The message quickly went viral, raking up more than 93,000 likes, along with thousands of shares and responses at the time of publication. Among those who reacted was Full House actress and outspoken Christian Candace Cameron Bure, who replied with an enthusiastic, "Let's go, praise God." Muniz, who rose to fame at just 15 for his role as Malcolm, the gifted but often overwhelmed middle child, has been increasingly vocal about his faith. Back in January, he shared a humorous Instagram video of himself singing along to worship artist Pat Brett's "Build My Life" just before being pulled over by a police officer. Once one of Hollywood's most bankable child actors, Muniz stepped away from the entertainment industry at the height of his fame, redirecting his focus to professional car racing. Over the years, he has competed in numerous racing events, carving out a new identity outside of Hollywood. Reflecting on his decision to leave Los Angeles, Muniz told CBN in a recent interview that walking away from Hollywood's pressures ultimately saved his life.
Pope Leo XIV has called on the faithful to pray rosary daily throughout the month of October, seeking God's gift of peace. As part of the Jubilee of Marian spirituality, he also announced a special rosary prayer gathering in St. Peter's Square on October 11th. The Pope made the announcement during his Wednesday general audience, inviting all to join the event.
Pope Leo XIV has invited all Catholics to pray the Rosary every day in October for peace in war-torn countries. I invite everyone each day of the coming month to pray the Rosary for peace, personally, in the family and in community, the Holy Father said at the end of his weekly general audience on September 24th. The Holy Father also announced that the faithful in Rome will gather in St. Peter's Square as part of the Jubilee of Marian spirituality on October 11th at 6 p.m. to pray the Rosary. The original image of Our Lady of Fatima will be brought to the square for prayer. The Pope invited Vatican employees to pray the Rosary daily in St. Peter's Basilica at 7 p.m. throughout October, the month dedicated to the Holy Rosary. The Jubilee of Marian Spirituality, taking place on October 11th and 12th, is dedicated to deepening the understanding and devotion to the Blessed Virgin Mary. Catholics from around the world will gather in Rome to engage in prayer, reflection, and celebration of Mary's pivotal role in the Church.
At the United Nations, the Vatican's top diplomat has warned that women continue to face poverty, inequality, and violence 3 decades after the landmark Beijing Declaration on Women's Rights. Archbishop Paul Richard Gallagher told world leaders that without respect for human dignity, from the unborn to the elderly, true equality for women cannot be achieved.
Top Vatican diplomat Archbishop Paul Richard Gallagher said that the persistent issues highlighted in the Beijing Declaration on Women's Rights remain unaddressed even 3 decades after its adoption. The Vatican Secretary for Relations with States and International Organizations made the observation during his address at the commemoration of the 30th anniversary of the 4th World Conference on Women held in Beijing in 1995. The high-level event took place on September 22nd at the United Nations headquarters in New York. Speaking to diplomats and other delegates, Archbishop Gallagher noted that women continue to suffer disproportionately from extreme poverty, barriers to quality education, and wage inequality. These challenges, he said, impede the full achievement of women's equal dignity and ability to fulfill their potential in all spheres of life. He also raised alarm over the persistence of violence against women and girls, warning that new technologies are increasingly being used to exacerbate such abuse. Gallagher further reminded the Assembly that practices such as prenatal sex selection and female infanticide still cost the deaths of millions of girls each year, despite the Beijing Declaration's explicit condemnation. Stressing the need for better health care for women, the Archbishop underscored that true equality cannot be achieved unless the dignity of every human person, especially the most vulnerable from the unborn to the elderly, is upheld. Adopted in 1995, the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action is widely considered a landmark framework for advancing women's rights. Yet, according to UN Women's 2025 Gender Snapshot report, none of the global gender equality targets are currently on track. In light of this, Archbishop Gallagher conveyed to the President of the United Nations General Assembly the Holy See's hope that states renew their commitment to ensuring equality for women and respect for their God-given dignity, rather than pursuing divisive agendas that fail to serve women's true needs.
Ukrainian president told the UN General Assembly that weak international institutions failed to stop wars in Ukraine, Gaza and Sudan with only weapons and allies ensuring survival. He warned that Russia's aggression, including the invasion of Ukraine and meddling in Moldova, risked escalating if unchecked. After a supportive meeting with US President Donald Trump, Zelensky urged global condemnation of Russia and the aid for vulnerable nations. He stressed the rapid evolution of drones and weapons outpacing defense capabilities. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky urged world leaders to prepare for what he described as a destructive arms race during his address to the United Nations General Assembly. In a dramatic speech, he specifically warned his eastern neighbors about Russian military overreach and called on them to resist President Vladimir Putin's attempts to expand the war across Europe, citing recent incidents in which Russian drones violated the airspace of multiple countries. His remarks came a day after US President Donald Trump voiced support for Ukraine, signaling a sharp departure from his earlier position that Kiev should make concessions to end the ongoing conflict. Zelensky also clarified the status of ceasefire negotiations, revealing that Russia had withdrawn from the mediation efforts and continued to refuse a ceasefire even as thousands of Ukrainians die in the war. He raised the issue of Ukrainian children abducted during the conflict and expressed gratitude to those involved in rescue operations. Furthermore, he warned that Russian weaponry grows increasingly advanced each year and described how schools in Ukraine are forced to operate in underground bunkers as protection against drone attacks. He linked the rise of new weaponry to the collapse of international law and attributed the persistence of conflict to the weakness of international organization in halting aggression. At the conclusion of his address, Zelensky paid tribute to President Donald Trump and praised God for saving him him after multiple attempts on his life during the 2023 election campaign. He also noted the recent killings of Charlie Kirk and Ukrainian woman Irina Sabuska, who was stabbed to death on a transit train. This week, the Italian Parliament took a significant step toward establishing October 4th, the feast of Saint Francis of Assisi, as a national holiday. On September 23rd, the Chamber of Deputies, the lower house of Parliament, approved the proposal with 247 votes in favour, 2 against and 8 abstentions. The move to reinstate his feast comes ahead of 2026, which will mark the 800th anniversary of the saint's death. The Italian Parliament has taken a significant step toward reinstating October 4th, the feast day of Saint Francis of Assisi, Italy's patron saint, as a national holiday. On September 23rd, the Chamber of Deputies, the lower house of Parliament, overwhelmingly approved the proposal with 247 votes in favour, 2 against and 8 abstentions. The bill, introduced as a bipartisan initiative by the Noi Moderati party, now heads to the Senate for the further consideration. Although a date for the Senate vote has not yet been scheduled, the proposal is widely expected to pass. Saint Francis of Assisi's feast was formally observed as a national holiday in Italy until it was removed from the calendar in 1977 as part of the economic austerity measures. The renewed push for its recognition comes as the country prepares to commemorate the 800th anniversary of the saint's death in 2026. Chamber of Deputies President Lorenzo Fontana expressed his enthusiasm for the initiative, stating he is pleased that the chamber has given its approval to honor one of Italy's most revered spiritual figures. Currently, Italy has 12 national work holidays, of which 8 are religious feast days, including Epiphany on January 6th, Easter Monday, the Assumption of Mary on August 15th, All Saints' Day on November 1st, the Immaculate Conception on December 8th, Christmas Day on December 25th, and the Feast of Saint Stephen the Martyr on December 26th. The 8th religious holiday varies by city as it honors the patron saint of each location. For example, in Rome, June 29th is a public holiday in celebration of the solemnity of Saints Peter and Paul, the city's patron saints. That's all for today. Until we meet again, God bless and thank you.